Good evening. Welcome to Haz'el Inspirations. I'm Leah. I'm your host, and I'm here with my best friend. We're streaming right here in the hometown of Virginia, and we're going to be covering a couple of topics tonight. But I want to start out with my friend Mr. Ford introducing himself and just giving you a basic about what we're going to cover. Take it away.
My name is Raymond Ford. I just got out of the Department of Corrections in Virginia. I've been down for about 20 years. I so-called fell in 2005. I've been through all parts of the system. So during that time now, I'm just now fresh coming out, less than a month now. I was released a little bit early as part of one of the laws that had changed. It allowed people that had violent and non-violent charges to be able to go ahead and receive that good time, 65%, like the other people that had just non-violent charges. So even though I was supposed to actually be released on July 1st, I was ultimately released on July 23rd. But I'm out now. I'm trying to reintegrate into society. I'm trying to find my way. It's strange because I was out here before and I had my life going on. I didn't realize how much I was kind of set back from doing all of that time. And now I'm out here in society. I'm really trying to find myself again. And, I think the conversation that we're going to have tonight is about reentry and reentry resources. And
Yes.
to see if what, maybe through this interview, what it is that inmates need coming out. Right now, I have some support. I was anticipating before I came out to go stay in a halfway house situation. I'm so used to being on my own, even in the system, taking care of self. So I wanted to do it on my own, but my family was really supportive and they wanted me to come and stay with them. So I was able to put them as my home plan. But right now, I'm still in that phase where I'm trying to figure out what to do. I have a lot of plans inside my head. I have a lot of things I want to accomplish. And now I'm trying to, put all those things together. And I'm glad that I'm being able to be part of this interview. So maybe this conversation can help other people that's about to be in my situation, and it can actually aid the Department of Corrections and any other resource facility to better help people that's in our position, in my position, somebody that's done a lot of time and coming out. So through this discussion, maybe we can come to an understanding.
All right. And you know what? Thank you for highlighting those areas. And I want to let everyone know that Mr. Ford is a product of an individual that has successfully overcome some boundaries and some obstacles while being on the inside. And those are challenging obstacles. Not everyone can come out and have the family support, because I've seen it, I've heard it from other presenters. I want to talk about, there's 4 areas I want to kind of focus on tonight. And I want to focus on the housing aspect, the employment, the education, and how is it going for you as far as overall with the family support. I mean, some family, they're not very welcoming. And what I mean by welcoming is that there's still that stigma that they're trying to get to know you and you're getting to know them, because they don't know, maybe they didn't see you for a period of time over the years, and now they're coming home and it's like a newborn baby coming into the world.
Right.
Okay, how do I treat him? How do I encourage him? How do I support him? Because I don't know him anymore. So tell me how that part is, and with the family dynamics.
Well, I'm gonna start back a little bit further before actually walking out of the door. Something that I think is very important is to build a relationship. If the relationship has been fractured and you've been separated, to build that relationship back right before you come out. Maybe a year before you're about to get out. Really stay on the phone and try to have some visitation, try to break that ice. One of the things I was trying to implement when I was at Coffeewood Correctional Center was through the visitation program, They have regular visitation, and then they have. I wanted to implement reentry visitation because
Oh,
they
okay.
actually
What's
have.
the difference with that?
Well, there's a reentry building. There's a reentry pod, and people who are within 1 year of going home, they're actually in this other building. And that building focuses on, jobs, resources that you'll need when you go to the street, connecting with OAR, connecting with social services. But it should be more family oriented as well, because that can prevent someone from having to stay in a halfway house and actually being able to stay with their loved ones, being able to stay with someone that cares for them, but the ice has to be broken. So
Okay.
I was able to do that myself, having some insight, and plus I've been, doing 20 years, and I've had different jobs and work in the law library and work on people's cases and talk to them a lot about what caused them to come back into prison, and a lot of people talked about when they left the prison, it was a very unstable situation. So that right there can set up your whole situation of whether you stay out or whether you come back. Just right there, like if you don't have that support and you're sleeping on somebody's couch that you haven't talked
Yes.
to, and you're going in the fridge and they got rules on the refrigerator and they got rules on the bathroom, and you feel like you're going back into prison again because you're going to a relative's or a friend's house. And then
Right.
the next thing you know, you're not staying in that location anymore, and that's a violation of your condition of probation. Now you have all these other situations, and it could affect your job, and so now you're in a situation. And just from that first part of you coming home, if that part is not stabilized, and if you haven't broken that ice with your family, and that's something that the DOC really needs to be involved with in aiding in that process, and that can be done through visitation. That can be done through opening up more phone calls instead of limiting
Yes.
it to 5 phone calls. It should be unlimited phone calls. You should have a lot more interactive access with your family, with the community, things like that, to break that ice.
Right. So is that something that we as a society can help with? Getting the word out about that icebreaker type of environment or process that needs to be implemented, strongly implemented for the reentry?
Yes, it's very important. Everyone should have a part in this, because one thing about it is we're coming back to the community.
Right.
So, and this is a very nice area, as you can see. We got this
It's
in front of the
beautiful.
waterfall. We got a nice restaurant right here. We're coming back to this community. We don't want. That's not in our desire to come and be an outcast out here. We want
Right.
to come back and have a fair shake and a fair shot. So it's important for everyone involved, not just the prisoners, not just the people who work in the DOC, but the people of the community.
Right.
It has to be very interactive. You have to care about every single person who's coming into your community. I don't care where they're coming from. They could come from another state. You got people coming right now from other countries. So right now, coming from the prison is almost like coming from another country. So you want to make sure that the community is very involved in the welcoming process, the reintegration process for wherever people are coming from. I don't care if they're coming from across the border, if they're coming from, another state, or if they're coming from in a penal correctional facility. It's somebody re-entering into your community, and you want your community, you're putting work into it, you want that continuity.
Yes.
So you don't
Yes.
want disruptions. You want everybody to kind of fit in and be welcome. So if the
Right.
person has done their time, that's why we have the sentences. They've done their time. Now let
Yes.
them come and
Now let them
reintegrate into
come
the
back.
community.
You're right. So what about employment? That's a lengthy process. It's a tedious process when you're coming home. And you know what? I meant to tell our listeners, Mr. Ford is going to be doing about 8 or 9 episodes. And so some of this I may piggyback off of because it's on the next segment that you're doing. But mental health has a part to play in within employment, right? So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But how are you doing with the transition with employment?
Well, right now, today is 30 days since I've been out.
Okay.
My priority, let me just give a little background just so you can understand my answer to this
Yes.
question. Before I was incarcerated, I had managed different retail businesses, So I've always had, in my family, we always had to have a job. My mother was very strong about all of us have to work.
That is true.
So at 16 years old, I was out getting a job, and I've always maintained employment until I was incarcerated. So it's not that I'm against employment at all. I don't have a job at this point, and there are things that I've worked on since I was in the DOC that I plan to implement. I know that I did not go through all of that 20 years to go and stand behind
Right.
somebody's register.
Right.
So that's, and in the DOC, I worked every day. So in the beginning, I had just regular job in the so-called in the pod or in the dorm, just cleaning. And then after I was there for a while and I got integrated into the prison environment, I was able to get better jobs. I was able to be an advisor, which is basically a lawyer for other inmates that are catching charges or they got a fighting charge, a contraband charge, or anything like that. I basically represent them at the hearings. And then after that, after I transitioned from that job for the last 5 years, I was working in the law library. So basically, it's a little bit more involved. We're actually helping them with their cases, with their post-conviction petitions, with they might have divorce issues or child custody issues or any other issues. So that was my job. So I worked consistently throughout my 20 years while incarcerated. So now that I'm out, it's not that I don't want to get a job. It's that I need to have a job that suits what I'm trying to do. Due to the fact that I've been incarcerated, when I come out, I want to implement my ideas that I've sat back, meditated upon, built upon. So I think one of the things that could be a little bit better about this process is when you're about to leave the prison, you should actually, it's almost like when you're making the transition from high school into college,
Right.
you go meet with a guidance counselor and they really try to find out what is it that you're interested in, what is it that you want to study in college, and they try to put you into that framework. And they do that before you get there. So the problem here is that was done after I came out, and it's really not that orderly. So I'm still kind of in a way where I have to figure it out. I have to go to these stores or restaurants or whatever and put in the application, and I'm kind of apprehensive about that a little bit, about explaining anything about if I was
Right.
incarcerated or whatever, So that there is some apprehension there, that judgment that I'm kind of fearing a little bit, but
Well, let me ask you a question, because the next one was regarding education level. And I guess the skills. So the skills that you acquire while you're on the inside, are they applicable for when you come home? Do they transfer over? You know how you go to college, and if you're not going to like an Ivy League college, all that transcript, all those skill sets that you learn, or all that classroom work you learn is not transferable to another school. So is that the same as being on the inside?
well,
Like if I get an apprenticeship, or if I get my college degree in here, can I use that out here?
ideally, yeah.
Oh, you can? Okay.
But I've never been in and out and in and
Okay.
out. So
Okay.
this was my first felony conviction, and this is my first time out. Now, from other people that I've spoken to throughout doing time, some of the trades that they were able to receive inside, like whether it was a plumbing trade or electrician trade or things like that, they were able to make use of those skills. Sometimes in DOC, people have a lot of difficulty getting into those trade classes, so that's not a guaranteed thing.
Okay.
But it's I can kind of say it's similar to someone who goes to school and college, and then when they come out, it's not necessary that they're going, or it's not guaranteed that they're going to be working in that same field that they studied in school.
Okay.
So
Okay.
without, like I said, without some kind of pre-planning, sitting down with the guidance counselors or sitting down with the counselors inside of the DOC, you're kind of on your own trying to figure it out. I
Okay.
cannot say that anything is going to transfer.
That's where, not to
Yeah.
cut you off, but that's where family support comes in at, and to try to help you navigate what's out here and let you know what resources you have as far as employment, right?
Yeah, and one thing about this, and this is the point that I want to make, everyone is pretty much, I think society is pretty much trained in this society to say that when you go from here, you got to go from here, and you have to have a job right away. I don't
Okay.
think that that gives a person the proper time to adjust to the new society that they're entering into.
Okay.
So even when you go into prison, they don't put you right in a job right away. You have to adjust to that situation.
Right.
So, and that's what I'm actually being allowed to do with my
Okay.
family support and love is adjust to the situation of being out.
Yeah.
So to just put me straight from being incarcerated to go put me in a job, I don't even understand the area that I'm at. I've never even been
And that's
here.
what I was going to say. I mean, because you said, I understand what you're saying about not having employment. I think that anyone coming out should give themselves at least 90 days, maybe a little bit more. Because, and that's when we're going to get into the mental health. You have an adjustment, a major adjustment. Like you said, you got to know your surroundings. You got to kind of blend in. You got to be able to navigate and adapt to how it is now. And I think you and I were speaking a little bit earlier about, like, the reentry of the different foods and the taste, because your taste buds are different than my taste buds. I mean, you got to get more acclimated to what's around you, and it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And especially with technology, there's a lot of things that I still need to know. But for somebody that has not used a computer, hasn't used the new phones, I mean, I got a new phone, I don't even know how to use it. So I wouldn't expect anyone, but that's when we need to have programs in place to help. And everyone should not feel as though that they have to rush and get a job, or, especially when they're with family. Give me some time. I mean, I can cook, I can clean, I can do whatever you want me to do. I can go out for a walk. Just give me some time to get myself together.
Right.
Mentally, emotionally, so that I can make sure that, I can be a successful, personnel back here in society.
Yeah, and that is a major thing that almost can't be explained in words, is adjustment. When a person is entering into it, the adjustment is no different than, say, I would compare it to a person, say they were in the military or they were in another country. And they are coming to another country where the language is foreign, the food is different, climate is different. It's just that extreme to come from the prison environment to society. So we're not really recognizing that a person actually has to take that time to adjust to something that's totally different. A person that's living in this society all the time might not understand that there is something to adjust to because they are acclimated to that environment.
Right.
But for someone else, if you don't have that mindset to understand that, even though I was out here, coming out after 20 years is totally different. So
Yeah.
even the way that you deal with people, even to know that people are speaking to me. So there's certain things that can totally throw you off, like just going to the grocery store and
Yes.
one of the employees speaking directly to me, and they're asking me, "Sir, how you doing today?" And those types of things can throw me off. So it can almost make you like agoraphobic, I guess that's a term, where you have the fear of the outside because everything is coming at you too fast. You've been dealing with a certain type of environment,
Yeah.
and now you're out here dealing with
what
a
they call
totally
it,
different.
secluded or stringent type of environment.
Right.
Yeah.
So those adjustments, like if people don't understand that there is a major adjustment that has to take place and that has to have its own time, then we're kind of creating our own situation of recidivism.
Right. I am so glad that you're sharing this with us. We have a few more minutes. You mentioned something earlier, and I want you to reflect back on that. You were describing how the magnetic energy and your mindset, and if you speak it, I want you to elaborate on that because I actually thought about that after I heard you say it, and I was like, wow, I have to really stop thinking certain thoughts because I don't want them to come out of my mouth. And I don't want people to feel negative energy from me. But can you say that before we close for this last?
Yeah, that's a bit of my spiritual or religious understanding, if you want to call it religion. But basically, we talk about our thoughts, our words, and our deeds, and we have to be mindful over our thoughts, words, and deeds. So things that you think, it can affect the environment around you. It can affect your own body. It can affect your blood pressure. It can affect the way you breathe. But it can affect things that's outside of that, and we're not aware of that. So taking, when we're more conscious of some things we are more aware of. I think we're more aware of our deeds. I think we're sometimes more aware of our words, but we really don't know how our words can affect other people. Sometimes we don't know how our deeds or the actions that we do can affect other people.
Right.
Because but we can be more aware of that because it's obvious. If I hit this right here and it makes an impact, it's obvious what that did.
Right.
But your words are not so obvious. So what the effect of my words, even the effect of what I'm saying right now on the person who's listening to this podcast, I don't know the effect of it, if I'm not conscious of that. Mm-hmm. If I'm not conscious of the way that I'm delivering, or if I say profanity, or if I, what type of information I'm going to give, what is the content of our conversation.
Right.
If I'm not mindful of that, then, that's something that we need to be more mindful of.
Right.
But also our thoughts, and thought is something that, people think a lot of things, and just your thought, like one thing I had in the system, I struggled a lot with high blood pressure.
Okay.
So, I had to really start to do some studying to try to get that under control, because they're saying, well, a lot of that is because of the way that you are thinking. It's like, really, your thinking can affect your blood pressure? Yeah, it can affect your heart rate. It can affect your sleep. It can affect your dreams. So, but not only that, it affects the people around you. It affects what we talk about in the Moore Science Temple. We say it affects the ethers. It causes, it is a vibration. You can raise or lower the vibration with thought. You can increase the rate of vibration with words. You've seen people sing a song and it can break glass. So that's just increasing the rate of vibration with sound. And it can have actual physical effect. So we have to be conscious of those types of things, our thoughts, our words, and our deeds.
Okay.
Without going too much
that
into
is very powerful, and actually, I actually kind of glad that we're recording that part because I need to hear it, but I also need our listeners to hear it as well. Now you have graciously are going to bless us with coming back, and we're going to, in our next segment, we're going to talk about how we're going to be addressing the mental health concerns on the inside and as well as the outside. I know that we've been focusing on that with other presenters, and everyone has a different story of how they're dealing with it. Some people deal with it by meditation. Some people deal with it by medication. And I want to hear from you. I think you already just highlighted it. And I think somebody said to me, you change your thought pattern, you can change your outcome. And that's what you just said to me. And that's how I understand it, how I can relate it. So if I have high blood pressure, I need to change my thought. I need to change this mindset of mine to think more positive and let that energy level be more positive instead of having it be negative. Right. And I appreciate that. But I also want to talk about, and I know I'm going to mispronounce it. Is it Moorish?
Moorish.
Moorish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Moorish.
Okay, I want to talk about that too, and I want to do a complete segment episode on that, because I was reading the what the information you sent me, and I find it very interesting,
Okay.
and I would like to know more about it.
Yeah.
And is it just for men? Is it women?
No,
Oh, okay.
absolutely
It's
not.
okay.
No, absolutely.
Okay,
Not.
that's what I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
humanity-
diverse.
Yeah, humanity is the woman.
Okay,
you know,
okay,
so-
all right. That's what I wanted to understand. So I wanna get into that. But our next episode, we're gonna talk about the mental health concerns for after navigating the reentry. So I look forward to doing these few segments with you, and I hope that in the end, I know you want to start your own business, and I want to see how we can support you, and how the society and other people can help support you. Okay, so that's what we want to get out there, because not a lot of we don't stick together as a society, let alone a nation. And I think that we need to do more of that. And like I said, this is my third home, so I'm going to support any way I can.
All right, I greatly
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank
So,
you for
hey,
entertaining
look.
and-
Okay, so I will see you in a couple days, and
Okay.
we're going to be streaming live again, and we're gonna talk about these mental challenges, and then we're gonna get into finances.
Okay.
Oh boy, I don't
All
like
right.
talking about finances.
All right.
But thank you.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Yay,
All
give me a
right.
hug.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.